Yeah, it must have been some kind of,
I was in a contract.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I, Clerk Johnson, will call the meeting to order. We do not have a chair this evening, unfortunately. John, I know that you can said you'd be willing to step in. Is there anybody who would make a motion to appoint him as a chair pro tem?
we appoint Wally.
Thank you, Wally.
Oh, second.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Take it from here.
Right, so I guess my job is to call this, or she call it to order and roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I took that back on. Ron Weicker. Louis Holden.
Here.
Wally Quaid.
Here.
John Donald,
Here.
Jeff Rogers. Ann Redmond.
Here.
Peter Lund.
Here.
Thank you. You have the floor.
You take a tally of the people that are in the audience, so you have them listed, or you already have them written down? Or does that come later?
Mr. Dimmer.
Yes.
And Carl, what's your last name?
All right, next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we need to approve the minutes from the 23rd of August. This is the Board of Appeals meeting, the zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Is that the minutes that are in here for the last meeting? Did everybody look at that and approve them?
I motion to approve.
Second. All right. So then we're going to start off.
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Well, sorry.
That'll be it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Sorry.
So now we can start this is the variance request for a building from Ronald Demmer being put on the side yard of his house because of the lack of a backyard. And the ordinance, the throwing ordinance says that an outbuilding must be in the backyard, not side yards. And we're looking at changing a variance so that you can put your shed in the northern, on the north side of your house.
Mr. Chairman, would you like us to give a brief summary here of the process? That'd be okay?
Yes, would you please?
Yeah, that'd be great. So Mr. Dimmer, as was summarized, he lives at 114 North Milwaukee Street. He's looking to construct a shed in the side yard of his property. Our village ordinance 575-83 allows for accessory structures like this to be placed in the rear yard only and not be closer than 5 feet to the principal structure or his house. And also not closer than 3 feet from the lot line. So if you looked in your packet and you're familiar with the maps, you can see the constraints of Mr. Dimmer's property. If we were to fit into those guidelines, he has 11 feet from his principal structure to the lot line, allowing only for a whopping 3 feet to fit a shed. And I believe he would like a shed to be a little bit bigger than that. So that is what's bringing the request to you. He is requesting on the side yard, as is shown on the map there, along the street, a 12 by 16 foot shed on the west side of his property. So as the zoning administrator following the ordinances, my recommendation would be to deny because it does not fit within our code. But as far as granting that variance, that would be up to you all. And so from here, I'll pass it over to our village attorney who can walk you through what would allow this body to grant a variance.
So after I give you a summary here, the next thing would be for you to call on your applicant, Mr. Dimmer, to testify and present information that sort of speaks to these three factors, but there are three factors that you would need to consider and basically find that all three of them are met beyond a reasonable doubt in order for you all to find that there's grounds to grant this variance. The first is that there is an unnecessary hardship. So the applicant would have to show that they have no reasonable use, or I'm sorry, that's for a use variance. They would have to show that the restrictions in the zoning code would unreasonably prevent them from using their property for a permitted purpose. Basically leaving them without any use that's permitted for the property, or rendering unnecessarily burdensome their conformity with those restrictions. So again, that first factor is unnecessary hardship. That can be interpreted different ways depending on the purposes of the zoning law here. But that's the first thing that you need to consider. The second thing is whether there's any hardship due to unique limitations of the property. That's generally things that are not common to a number of properties in the village, but something that is very specific to this particular property. So again, you can ask the applicant questions about what's unique to his property that is not the same as, you know, other properties in the village that have the same zoning. The third thing you would have to find is that there's no harm to public interests. Again, you're looking at the purpose of the zoning code, the purpose for these setback and location regulations. And would have to go through and find that there is no harm to any of the reasons why we have these sorts of restrictions on accessory structures in the first place. And then what you would need to do is not just say, nope, there's no unnecessary hardship, for example. You would actually have to talk about the facts that Mr. Dimmer has brought before you or in response to your questions that lead you to that decision. So you can't just say, no, this is good, or yes, this is no good. You actually have to describe so that we can have recorded the reasons behind your decision, whichever your decision may be. I'm happy to provide guidance or answer questions as we go along, but otherwise at this point, it's probably appropriate for you to swear in Mr. Dimmer, or I can swear him in for you, and then he can present to you, and you can ask questions of him.
You can swear in Mr. Dimmer if you want to.
Okay, would you stand and raise your right hand? You solemnly swear the testimony you'll provide to this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay.
So you understand the qualifications that are needed to make the variance. And can you give me a summary of the reasons why you need to put this in there on the side of your yard instead of in the backyard?
Well, I got it, that's behind my house. So you gotta take 3 feet off the lot line, 5 feet away from the house. 8 feet already, so I got 3 feet to the garage, 4 feet. You know, what are you gonna put 4 feet? And the only other spot that I have in your room would be in the front yard. I don't think that would be appropriate. This is kind of the farthest spot I can actually try to hide it whatsoever. I mean, it's on a side street. And this is Carl, being the old guy, would be actually bothering. And we talked about it for a long time already. He doesn't have a problem with it being where we actually staked it already, where it would be, and he said, oh, put it down here. So, I mean, I don't really have no other place to put it. That's the long and short of it. I can't go back.
And you have a 2-car garage?
Yeah. And riding lawnmower. Generator, messy yard tools. I got 1 car.
So the uniqueness of your property is that your backyard is small and close to Carl's house. And the only place on your property is the side on the road. It is being put, I mean, we can put this up for discussion. I went by there earlier. It is, farther away from the corner, so it's not blocking like impeding traffic that comes to the stop signs or anything. I mean, it looks like a very nice constructed building. Right, as I said, I looked at the map earlier and I thought I saw a tree there, and then when I went by there, there's no tree. It's like, tuck it back behind that tree.
It's gonna be a solid construction, not like a plastic.
No,
shed
it's gonna be a wood shed on a slab of concrete. And I got windows in it to try to make it look nice. I got, overhead door, which is just a roll door. And then I have a service door all.
And you're making an effort to have it match up with the
Yes.
design of the house.
My house, I want to stay siding. Sure. Same kind of shingles if possible. They still have them. I need something close to that.
Get the house re-shingled too.
Yes, everything's in there, it's all in there.
So the distance from the curb to the house is 33 feet. Is that correct? Because looking at the size of your shed, you're saying it's 12 feet wide.
Well, yeah, yeah,
So it's 10 feet from the curb to the shed, then 12 feet wide for the shed, and then 11 feet to the house.
Yeah. Right, so we put off the goal, so that that follows, right? Any visuals of anything, you know, I know I can only go so close to my house. Unless I do like a double wall, drywall in it for fire protection. But I'd rather just keep it the way it is, it's really implant drywall. Right? In the inside. So it's stored. What you said on the lane is east-west. Yes. Yeah, looking at you. You know, every house there. Well, it's about. Yeah, just two people, Bud and Carl listed. Any other neighbors you had a discussion with? There's one across the street, and she just, I talked to her already, and she's like, "It's gonna do, like, okay, here." I had all the people that got letters, they would stop it on my house daily, and ask me what's going on. And I told them, you know, where else can you put it? That's the only place I can think of. That's actually not like a eyesore anyway. I mean, it's the biggest eyesore for LP car.
Is there anything in the, anything that defines backyard?
That's in your packet.
That's,
At the very end, the teeny weeny little paragraph on the last page.
Yeah. So it says it's a yard extending across the full width of the lot, the depth of which shall be the minimum horizontal distance between the rear lot line and a line parallel hereto through the nearest point of the principal structure. So it's pretty much from behind his house.
And if you put a shed back there, it'd be 3 foot wide and 15 feet long.
Yeah.
In order to get your stuff.
I don't know, sorry, to paragraph. Yeah.
I have a question, Chris. Do we know why Village of Fredonia only allows for backyard instead of backyard or side yard, like many of the surrounding communities? I went and looked up everybody else's codes, and some allow for side yards, West Bend, Fond du Lac, City of Milwaukee. Is there some reason our code only allows for backyard?
Yeah, I don't have that history of
Okay.
why we ended up that way. Doesn't mean it couldn't change in the future if the village.
Okay, I was just wondering if we had
Yeah.
a specific reason.
And keep in mind, in some codes, just because I'm familiar with it, on corner lots, some define corner lots as not even having rear yards because of the way that they're positioned. And so just that doesn't apply here, but just something else to think about.
Well, being on a corner lot doesn't make kind of a unique story here that we have to look at and make a decision. And so I'm trying to follow the unnecessary hardship, the uniqueness of the property being a corner lot. is there any harm to the public or harm to traffic or impedance? Is there a sidewalk out there? No, there's not a sidewalk.
Are there plans by the village to put in sidewalks in any of the areas that don't have them currently?
In the grand scheme of things, yes, there would be plans for at least one side of every street to have sidewalk, which is per compliance with our village ordinance.
That,
But there is on the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was.
Then his property would be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway.
Yep, yes, that's a good point.
Valid.
That question. I don't know, if there are any more discussions on, that we followed the rule of, that you had requested following to cover the three topics that we need to cover? With a good discussion, or do you want us to go farther?
Well, I think it would be appropriate for someone to make a motion one way or the other to either grant or deny the application. And if that motion gets a second, then I think whoever makes that motion should summarize the reasons why they think this application either does or does not meet those three factors. So that there's some rationale in the record for whatever your decision may be. And certainly if other folks on the board want to add in additional things to that discussion, or
I'm
the opposite way, if someone disagrees with it, they can talk about that as well, and then you can vote on the motion.
just curious. What else is in the garage? Yeah,
I have a zero turn riding lawnmower. I have a generator. Yeah.
when you say generator, like a portable generator or?
On the generator. That's the yard. tools. We bought it, of course, there. I mean, some of the stuff I can leave in there. Some of the stuff I can,
Yeah.
no room for another car, no matter which way I better word, it's just.
Should, when Carl is here, I don't know if he wants to make a statement too, do we want to ask if Carl wants to make a statement?
I think,
I'm not saying Mr. Dimmer was fictionalizing what Carl said, but having Carl make a statement would be in the record then in case. I just think.
that's more important.
That's more
actually, right there.
And to be fair, and not just for this hearing, but for future hearings, the law is pretty well settled that you shouldn't decide variances just based on whether or not all the neighbors agree or disagree.
Right.
It's not just sort of a popular opinion sort of a question. It's more focused on whether or not the purposes of the zoning code would be harmed. And obviously you have those locations and setbacks because you want things to look nice, look orderly. That's why you don't want people's sheds in their front yards because it doesn't look nice. That's why you generally, I think, most places want them either in the side or here in the village. They're restricted to the back. So I think those are some of the things you have to talk about, not necessarily, but certainly helpful, the fact that
Right.
the
Well, so
neighbor
one
here.
fuzzy from the neighbor that he doesn't have a problem.
Right.
Are there any, do we know if there's any electrical, any pipes that are going under that area at all?
The only thing that's over there is a gas, and farther to the east from the gas.
Okay.
So that gas line goes straight under
It's
your
gonna
house?
be, it's gonna be in, the gas line would be by where the project board would be in front of that zone.
Okay, so the gas line is coming up more towards Milwaukee Street. And then it's coming
It's coming.
over Washington.
It comes in. Right here, my gas line is right over there, and the shed is, I'm thinking 5 feet setback farther this way than where the gas line is.
So everywhere you're gonna be putting the slab, there's nothing in the way back here.
No, no. You're gonna have power over there. But you're gonna have power on it, no. And I would like that power over there, just in case we need a light up there or something. I mean, it wouldn't be nothing big, it would just be enough to run some lights.
I mean, if they're working on that gas line. That's pretty darn close to your shed.
It's 5 feet.
I don't think it would be a problem, I'm sure on the east. And there could be nothing in front of the shed, it's gonna be a grass board, not pouring the slab is gonna be the exact size of the shed. And then from there, it's just gonna be the curb side down the grass board. I don't think the drive pattern of grass board.
Right, and I don't mean to sound callous, I'm not worried about whether it's an inconvenience to you, I'm worried about whether it's an inconvenience to the gas company working on the line.
Well, I don't know what the rules and regulations are, but I would think 5 feet would be plenty of room to work on the gas line. I don't know. It's not my.
Regulations.
So the variance that he's requesting is to allow this in the side yard. As far as the setbacks from all these other things, I mean, that can be handled by our building inspector. The specific question of you is, are you going to allow it in a side yard?
Then you fill in the blanks for those other questions later.
I'm gonna make a motion to do it.
And you want to state the factors behind your motion?
Second.
Mr. Cooper has a unique property. And he does not have a lot of options. I think the fact that. Everything he's got in his garage, most people like to use their garage to park their vehicles. I do too, but I've got a lot of stuff in my garage too. But I'm fortunate enough to have a shed, and that's a big plus. I know Butch takes very good care of his property. So, yeah, I just think this would be a decent move for him. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything from the standpoint. Yeah, aesthetics, I mean, I live across the street too, that's where it's gonna be sitting. Doesn't seem to be any problem for that.
Speaking from experience, having lived on Washington, right across from you guys, or right next to where Tom is. Fortunately, I know that you guys are the best caretakers of your homes on the street now. So, I mean, I used to be, I would always say I used to be, but you know, now that I'm. Yeah, so I mean, I don't have concern on that side of things in terms of the aesthetic of it.
I think the aesthetic is addressed by the fact that it's a solid, permanent structure. And it's gonna be designed to match up with the house, so it matches, it looks like a real structure rather than a temporary flimsy type building.
The only experience I have with sheds is that I have a man cave and it's not big enough. So I want to put an addition on it and my wife is saying no. So I think there should be a stipulation that since this is a unique factor that you don't get some wild hair and decide you're going to put an addition onto your shed.
No,
Because I mean, that should be maybe something in there because that's typically, you know, maybe say go around the corner, maybe put that 3-foot shed. So yeah. So I mean, I would second the motion by Wally, and for the same reason, I don't see any harm to the public. It's set back far enough away from the corner that it's not impeding traffic flow. So you don't have to look around it. It matches your house. There's a unique situation being a corner lot and your backyard being up to tomatoes that it's just, there's just not enough room there. And the icing on the cake is you got a warm fuzzy from your neighbor saying he doesn't have an issue. So I'm comfortable with my seconding the motion for that. Any other discussion? We do. Everybody, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And I'll turn to our village attorney in case he needs anything else.
I have a document that I'm gonna email to our clerk. If you can print that out and have our chair pro tem sign that before he leaves tonight, that's all we need.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
Right. Second,
I did.
okay. And did you vote?
We did, and there were all ayes.
No, she's talking about the adjourning. Did we vote on adjourning? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody want to stick around, stay? No?
I would love to.
deal with the
All right.
ATV meeting.
Meeting adjourned. Mr. Dimmer has his, you're one step closer.
So much, guys. Maybe. Like the road process? You know, not always easy, I appreciate it.
The recording off now?
Easy.
Now we all swear just before, so listen that out.
Yeah, yeah.